I'm just here with Chris Wright at Fincierge, and Fincierge does some lending of different descriptions to property developers. So Chris, I'm just going to let you tell us about what you do and how you help property developers get their finance.
Yeah, okay, Adam. Thanks for allowing me to join in. So I've been in corporate banking for 15 years prior to becoming a finance broker. And as a finance broker, we specialise in property development finance, ranging from splitters, small land subdivisions, townhouses, apartments, mixed use, service stations, childcare, up to high density residential. Mm-hmm. And we arrange finance across not just senior debt, but also what we would call junior or mezzanine finance, and even dabble in a little bit of preferred equity type of funding. Project sizes ranging from $500,000 up to $50+ million. So quite diverse in what we do. We've been Fincierge has been operating for about 5 years now.
Yeah, so you can do everything from a small loan up to a big loan, and you can arrange it with various different financiers. I know some people watching aren't going to know what the difference with what you mentioned, like senior debt. I can't remember whether you mentioned junior debt, but then you said, equity type funding. Can you just quickly give us a 30-second spiel? What's senior debt, and then what are the other different debt items?
Sure. So, senior debt is what we would call a first mortgage. So they have a senior priority over any other lender. So in an event of default, then they get the first bite of the cherry to realise the assets and repay their loan. So they would be a first mortgage, senior. Second mortgage is a junior or mezzanine. And then anything past second mortgage, you can have third and fourth mortgages, but typically that's when they start looking more like an equity investment rather than a loan.
Yes, okay. And I know from personal experience, I've dealt with a lot of brokers in the past. You are basically one of only 2 brokers I ever talk to now, having dealt with over 50. What do you think the main difference is between you with development finance, and that's even on the smaller side? And you're going to give us some examples soon on what those smaller developments look like. What's the difference between you and any other broker that's in the market, which there's a lot of them?
Yeah, there are a lot, Adam. As I said, I've been a finance broker since the GFC. So in 2009, I came out of corporate banking and jumped into finance brokering. And I guess over the last, 12 or 13 years, I've learned a heck of a lot. I've worked out who the good lenders are in the market and who the not so good lenders are. And I guess just the benefit of that experience means that typically we tailor or match a finance deal to an appropriate lender pretty quickly. And so we believe we save time for our borrowers in sourcing an appropriate debt solution. And I would say pretty confidently, 9 times out of 10, we're finding, if not the best solution in the market, pretty close to it.
Yeah, okay. I can vouch for that on my deals. So you have done, how many have we done together? 4 maybe? Probably 4. Yeah, 4 debt pieces, or maybe more, over however many years it's been. So yes, I definitely agree with you on that one. And yeah, having been through various different finance brokers, they promise you all of these things that don't end up eventuating. They promise to get you a loan, and it's this really good rate and really good loan to value ratio, and it comes back and you don't get the loan, or something happens along the way.
And that's where I'm all about under promising and over delivering ideally. Yes. There's a lot of brokers out there that will grab you in with a headline rate or a high LVR. They get you to sign up, and then you're at their mercy. And quite often they haven't done any work before they sign you up. They're just going to the shelf, grabbing a headline rate to attract you to their business, and then afterwards they figure out that they actually can't fulfill on that loan. Whereas we sort of I've been down enough dry gullies in my time to realise that you're better off spending a couple of hours on that loan proposal before you actually engage with the client, just to make sure that you can provide, all the type of finance that they're seeking. Whereas I think a lot of brokers are just lazy and just want your business, and they'll figure it out afterwards, if you like.
Yeah. So for guys that are looking for a broker, if they're doing bigger deals and they want to come to you, they can, and we can put your details up on this video.
Sure.
If they're not based in Queensland, or they want someone local, or for whatever reason they don't want to come to you, what's your tips on finding a good broker for, somebody who's just starting out doing either their first development or second development?
What we're looking for is a relationship with our clients. So if we can't create that relationship easily, then we are more than happy to refer people to people that we know. And as I was saying, we often get calls from lenders and other people in the industry asking us locally about developers or other people in the industry. So you'd be surprised how small this game is. And just a couple of phone calls to do your due diligence on a broker. I think most people in the industry would be happy to warn you off somebody who may not be quite as ethical if you ask the question. But you've got to do a little bit of research for sure.
Who do people call to check out a broker? Like, if you've
I would
not
often
dealt with many brokers, and I can relate to this. When I first started, I went to so many different brokers, and they all wasted my time and theirs, and I had no idea who to call.
Yeah, I think in the past I've had clients ask me for any sort of referrals I can give them from my existing clients.
Okay.
And that's always one way to approach it, politely asking the broker if there's another client that they can talk to. And ideally that client isn't someone who's hidden. It's a fairly reputable person that you could sort of substantiate that they have done business together, and it's not just the broker's mate that is putting in a good word. But talk to bankers. Often, talk to a banker within business bank or corporate banking. Have you heard of this broker? Look at their website, look at some of the deals that they may have posted about. It's not easy, Adam. I would always recommend that you speak to someone who was referred to you. But if you've got to get in onto Google, you're going to see the guys who are advertising, who are spending money on Google, trying to bring in new clients, not necessarily the best of breed in the industry. So
in other words, they should just come to you. Is the long story.
I can at least put you in touch with a good broker in your capital city or in your state who we deal with. So we often get calls from other brokers asking for us to help.
Okay.
And they're the brokers I actually respect, in that they know they can't do development finance. It's not their speciality. So they just spot and refer to a broker who can.
Yeah. So you do raise another valid point about people specializing in development finance.
Yes.
I think a lot of brokers, they see the big ticket item like the $1 or $2 million, and that's very entry level development finance. $1 or $2 million loan size, they rub their hands together, but not realize that there's actually more work involved than a normal residential loan.
It's not a residential loan, and it does take a little bit of expertise to be able to at least model out what you're pitching to the bank. Quite often, residential home loan brokers won't have that skill set to run a basic feasibility spreadsheet and a funding table. So, I'd always recommend going to a specialist property and development finance broker for your projects.
Yeah, cool.
Although in saying that, we have seen some, and probably the banks and second tier lenders out there are clamping down on this a little bit, but there was some, pretty attractive residential finance for splitters, for example, or 1 and 2 townhouse construction, where if you can show your servicing ability, the bank is more likely to give you money. That's probably the exception rather than the norm these days.
Yeah. I do say to the guys that are doing smaller stuff, if you do have the serviceability for a smaller development and you can get it through residential finance, it's going to be cheaper for you and
way cheaper
and a lot easier.
And often hearings are too. So a property development banker might apply a 65% loan to value ratio on a two-pack, duplex, whereas a residential home loan lender possibly could get you 80%.
Yeah. So it's cheaper money. You put in less of your own money
if you can. Sure.
Yeah.
But it's often not easy. Yes, but you have to be able to show serviceability. So quite often you need an external income. You can't be a full-time property developer. So.
Yes, yeah. I did catch most of that. You did cut in and out for a bit, but I did get the words. That's right. You didn't have a funny face when you cut out, so you were all fine.
Awesome.
I did have one last question, and probably a question that I get asked by people. Why would somebody use a broker over their banker?
Yeah, good question.
I know the answer to this, but it's better to hear it from the horse's mouth.
And you've probably been through this situation where you put all your eggs into that one banker's basket, if you like, and your project is in their laps, waiting for their approval on terms that you hope will come through. So if anything happens along the way and you've only got one iron in the fire, you virtually have to start again, go to another bank and go through the whole process. So this is our day job. This is what we do day in, day out. So we can quite often screen the opportunity and determine pretty quickly which bank will accept the application and provide the finance. So I think not only do we save time, but we're providing multiple options. If you want to go and talk to 5 different banks, it might take you a while to find the right person in the bank to have that discussion with. That can be a challenge. Sometimes they're not in your location, and it takes a few phone calls to find the right person. So it's a time and energy equation, I think, and expertise. So I think we can do it quicker and more efficiently and get a better outcome than most borrowers if they were to go directly to their banker. The other part, I guess, is, and we've got this in a couple of situations now, that repeat borrowers don't want to waste their banker's time. But if the banker knows it's a competitive tender process through a broker, there's not quite the same hard feelings than if you lose that as a banker, you lose that deal to another bank because your own client didn't trust you to do the job. Whereas if you know there's a broker involved, as a banker, you're trying to get the best deal you can quickly to make sure that you stave off the other banks. So it's creating that competitive tension with you. And hopefully we get a better outcome, better pricing, and better terms.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. No worries. We'll wrap up on that. Thanks, Chris, and hopefully everyone watching has gotten a lot of value out of it. In another video, we're going to share some actual examples that you've done. You've helped finance. So if people are interested in that, have a look at the actual examples that Chris has helped fund for developer clients. So we'll wrap up. Thanks for your time, and I'll hit the stop record.